Hello, this is day 42 of Daily Spark Questions, Wednesday, February 11th. So it says, what changes without understanding when conditions shift? It feels like, let me look at yesterday's. Yesterday's was, where do I assume that understanding must precede change? Ooh, so this one takes it a step further and says, what changes without understanding when conditions shift? So I was thinking about this actually today. Am I sweating? Oh, I just finished off. Why was I hot? So anyway, I was thinking about it today because this idea of manifesting, I don't know another word, but basically creating a new reality for yourself, or shifting into a new reality, or not even new, but just making some change in your life happen. It could be as practical and as simple as that statement. Really requires embodying that energy of that person living in that new change, because the old energy can't exist in a new environment. It's not resonant. There's too much friction. The mindset just can't live it, So however you want to think about it, because like raise your vibration to me sounds a little woo-woo if you don't explain it from like a really practical way, because we humans are living in a practical body, or 3D meat suit. So I was thinking about that because and I don't know how I'm connecting the dots here just yet. Maybe they'll connect on their own, but it doesn't require understanding anything. It's literally creating a vision of what you want to live that seems to be different than now. So it's like I'm making a change. I want this change to have happened, right? I want this change to have happened. I'm not going to worry about how. I'm just painting this picture of like what I want. Call it a vision board, call it whatever you want. It's like you're describing, you're drawing, you're like creating this idea of a change. And then instead of worrying about the how, because that's the mind worries about how, and the mind is in the current reality, the current situation with the current perceived limitations, constraints, conditions. Without worrying about the how, you just embody what would the person in that change feel like? What would they be doing? What would they feel like? What would their day be like? What would their thoughts be like? But mostly about the feeling sensation. And I'm sure you've heard all this before, and it might have sounded woo-woo, but like to me, it's very practical. It's like, who said it? Like the mind that created the mind that solves a problem can't be the same mind that created the problem. It's something like that. You know what I'm talking about. It's not that, it's similar. But it's like if you use the same mind that got you here, you're just going to get more of the same. And mind, I mean like your exertion, of this tool. Well, this tool is going to be different when this new reality presents itself. So how do I do that? You embody that energy of that future state. So when I was thinking about that, because it really makes a lot of sense. I mean, how did I get here? It was a different energy than what was before. And to me, the way that happened was like, oh God, there was just like a huge releasing. Like I didn't quite envision where I was going. I didn't have that, but it came about in a different way where it's like, there's nothing else but to get rid of what's here right now. And there was like purging, releasing. after there was like an opening that said, oh my God, things could look different. You know, that's where my starting point was like, oh my God, they could look different. Okay. Like, but it was a belief. Like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that's true. But it was a belief, a felt embodied belief. Whoa, things can be different. And that came with COVID because the world made me realize that like things shifted in my reality so dramatically that I was like, whoa, they can be different. And look, we're all still here, like in my little bubble of reality where I didn't lose anyone close to me. I recognized like everybody's bubble of reality during that year was probably different. Mine was like, I was burnt out, exhausted, working, God, probably more than 80 hours a week on a plane, like 2 weeks out of the month away from home. It was ridiculous. And so that year I couldn't travel and I got to work from home and I'm like, whoa. And that whole year was such a shift. By the end of that year, I said, I'm not renewing my contract because I was a consultant. So I was like, I think I'm done. So anyway, that was just my little example of like shifting into a new reality. Was like the world kind of forced it. Like, here, it can look different. And then that was like the wake up call, you know, for me. Now I'm like, wait a minute, things are pretty good. I don't really have to change. Pretty content, pretty happy, lots of gratitude, lots of love, like all the things. Pretty like, and yet now I feel like, oh, wait, let's get back into that. Things could be different. Now it's like blue sky thinking. Is that what they call? Like, what do I want? What would be like the ultimate, you know? So it's like, oh, well, let's do some more visioning. Like, what would that look like? And who would be the person that would be living it? And how is that person different than this person, you know, with these perceived limitations? And that illuminated a lot of stuff I need to work on. Like, it was almost like the next key to the doors I've been walking through, because I was like, well, I could stay in this room forever. I don't need to walk through that door. I don't even perceive any doors. It's pretty good. And then that like helped me perceive some doors. Like, oh, I could actually walk through that door. Here's a key to help dig into some other limits that I'm not even perceiving. They are like in the unconscious. And then bringing them conscious is like, yeah, I could work on that. That does feel like a limitation I've been operating under that I didn't even know I was operating under. So that's where I'm at now. We'll see what happens with that. But what change, again, back to the question, what changes without understanding when conditions shift? So to me, that whole, where I was making this connection was with putting my like the dreaming up of what this future person would feel like, and then it just happens without worrying about the how, without worrying about understanding. That's what changes. Your whole reality can change without even understanding it when you embody the feeling of it, right? So that's what this made me think of. Like, understanding means like a cognitive meaning making, connecting the dots, making sense, worrying about the how. How did we get from A to B to Z to B? And it's like, that's the same thinking that was like, that got me here, that's not gonna take me there. So I need to let go of trying to understand things. And I talked about that the other day. It's kind of funny that maybe that's just this phase I'm in of like, release control, release the need to understand, release control, release the need to understand, and rinse and repeat. Because yeah, I get it, but then it still happens. So it's just the habit breaking. And it's like, if I'm trying to understand something, wait a minute, don't worry about that. That's the mind playing catch up. It's just like trying to play catch up with where your energy is already going. So yeah, this took me somewhere I guess I didn't, well, I guess I don't expect anything because I don't know the question till I'm right here reading it, but it's, I don't know if, like, in a different mindset, I would answer it differently, of course. Wouldn't we? What changes without understanding when conditions shift? I don't know. Again, does it want a specific thing? Like it doesn't want anything. It's a funny question. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I want to say about it at the moment. What about you? Does that resonate with you at all? Have you ever tried it? It's kind of fun to play with. I just realized I already did it without realizing it when I was going back through on my phone. I did a drawing. So again, back to that bingo card. I created a bingo card at the beginning of the year of all the fun things I want to add into my life. Just random fun stuff that wouldn't normally be in like something I focus on week to week. So I'm like, oh, well, this will help me have something I can keep anchoring back to like keep making progress on fun things, creative projects. And so one of them was creating a plushie doll and then writing a storybook to go like, what would that character be? So fun. And so because I love to sew, I love to craft and I love making things, and I love writing. And so I thought, oh, that would be a fun combo project. So last month, early in January, I downloaded an app and started just drawing an idea of a character I'd want to create a plushie for. And I thought, my skill level was sewing. Let's make it a little challenging, but like doable. And so I made a blob of a hedgehog kind of drawing where it's just sort of like a gumdrop shape. Nothing too extravagant going on. Maybe and it had like spiky fur, like crazy hair, and a simple face, like dot nose, like basic. And it had a crossbody like bag because I'm like, it needs to carry things. It needs to have like a pouch to be able, because I love I don't know, I just had this vision of like it's gonna have things to give people, and that's part of its story too, like words of wisdom. I have no idea what, but it needed a satchel. So if I think about it, I'll post my drawing, but I'd also have to post my plushie, and I don't have the patience for that, but I might do a follow-up. So anyway, crossbody bag, gumdrop shaped blob with spiky fur hair. That was at least a month ago. Forgot about it. It's like I put a picture of it on my phone. Like, on Android you can have I don't know, maybe iPhone too now, but a few screens go by and I have a picture of that drawing so that I could keep it in my consciousness. So like sometimes I'd swipe by and be like, oh, that's right, I drew that blob. Haven't done anything with it. Well, in the last couple of weeks, I actually started making the plushie. Maybe only a week ago. And then totally forgot about the blob photo of the hedgehog shaped thing. Then I'm like looking at this plushie as it's like coming to something, because I didn't put much thought into it. I just grabbed a bunch of corduroy scraps of fabric from a coat I'm making, started just sewing them together real fast, like no thoughts, because I'm trying to train my brain to get out of the way of putting limits on things, like, oh, it's gotta be perfect, so I'm like, nope, just blob it all together. And then I had this fabric that had troll doll hair vibes, and I'm like, oh, if I fold it over, it naturally sticks up, and then I'll sew that into the top and it'll be like a spiky haired person. And then I found all these ribbons I saved from Christmas a few years ago. My husband's sister does fancy wrapping, and I went around and I was like, oh, can you give me all those ribbons? They are amazing. They're felty and long and soft. And so I'm like, and everybody thought I was nuts. They're like, okay, here. And so every present they got unwrapped, I'm like, boop. So then they kept throwing me their ribbons. And then I stuffed them in a baggie and put them in my crazy place of crafts supplies. And then the other day, or like last week, I was like, oh, look at that bag of ribbons. More hair. So I sewed in these long, ribbony, felty, like, hairs, and then like it almost looks like dreadlock style vibes because I have other rope like fabric coming out like from a belt type situation on some pants I cut off, and it was just fun. So there's this troll doll spiky stuff, and then all these like dread like strands coming down, and a big gumdrop shaped blob of a corduroy plushie that I stuffed. Like I just kept stuffing it with fabric I knew I wouldn't use. And so, did I already tell you this story? Sorry if I'm repeating myself. So anyway, I just realized yesterday, I think, when I was on my phone looking, like rearranging some home screen stuff, and I was like, oh, my hedgehog. And then I looked at it and I was like, holy shit. The shape, the spiky hair, the simple face, I just sewed on like 3 buttons, button, button, button. And I was like, cool. So that was a very, very, very simple example of like, I envisioned something. I envisioned something, set it aside. And then when the inspiration came to sit down and like make something, I was like, oh, I guess I could work on a plushie. That was not even in my mind, not in my conscious mind. And then it comes about, oh, the satchel. I forgot to tell you the funniest part. I think it's funny. The crossbody bag that I had in the drawing, I didn't do a bag, but for some reason, I thought it would be so fun. I had a back pocket of corduroy jeans with like a Levi's emblem. Old school, like really old school, because these I got from like Goodwill. So they're like really old, used. So it's a really old Levi's big emblem. It was so cool looking. And on the pocket, and I'm like, I'm gonna slap that right in the middle of its face. So I sewed together the whole front panel with that pocket right in the face. And so my working title for this plushie is Pocket Face. So I just call it Pocket Face. I think maybe that's what it's gonna be called, and the children's book will be just called The Adventures of Pocket Face. I have no idea. So anyway, and I'm like, look, I can I was showing my husband, he was just like, what? I think I told you this already. So I'm gonna make something, other things. I still don't know what yet. I have some ideas, but like to pull out of the pocket face, and then this character can give people like, oh look. So the crossbody bag where it could have something or turned into a pocket right on its face. So anyway, this is way too long, sorry, but that is just a tiny example of how like I had a vision for something, set it aside, didn't worry about the how, and then like it just happened. It just happened without planning. In fact, the more I got out of my own way, the more exciting that blob became. And I was just like, I love it so much. Every time I'd put another piece on it, sew another piece in, like, it was just like, without planning, it just was so fun. And it ended up to be very close to like that little sketch drawing I did. I'll end up trying to post the 2 photos. So maybe I'll hold off on posting this until I can insert those 2 photos for you, so you can get a sense of what Pocket Face his evolution has been. So anyway, now it's like, well, I want to do it with everything. What else could I envision? Because I haven't been much of a dreamer. I've been a little too practical in my life because of, some of my history, like a whole bunch of, is it safe you know, and where's the value in it sort of thinking. Those have been like the two like limiting factors. So without those at play anymore, the more I strip, like really like illuminate those for what they are and let them go, more and more is like that old version of me that was trapped in those limits is like I almost don't recognize that person anymore. And I want to keep going that way where I like, who even was that person, you know? So that's what this made me really think of is like, it's not with understanding. Like Pocket Face came without understanding anything. It was just play and fun and creativity and joy and immersion without the thinking mind. It was just like totally immersed. So I want more of that. I want more. Here we are in my my space of creativity. And here's a glimpse of Pocket Face. He's not finished, or she. I think it's a they. Yeah, I think Pocket Face is a they, them. Okay, here we go. Current state. I don't think it's finished. I don't think they're finished. I just don't get that feeling yet, but here it is. Pocket Face. So, Jelly Bean. So here's Pocket Face. Here's the pocket. See that cool Levi's old-timey logo? That's why I liked the pocket. And then I can pull stuff out, whatever that ends up being. And here's the hair, spiky hair. More hair. And I didn't put any thought into the pattern of the corduroy. I just sewed all my scraps together. So it's got like different colors. And then the back, oh, they're kind of heavy. I need to take a lint roller. You know, after you finish your sewing project, there's like stuff all over it. And look at this. There was a hole. Oh man. When I was showing my husband this iteration of Pocket Face, I flipped it over and there was a hole in the corduroy in the middle, not at a seam. And I was like, oh, an opportunity. And so I was like, well, I could patch it. There's opportunity for some weird thing to go there, you know, that's part of Pocket Face. And so what I did is something very simple. I gave Pocket Face a beauty mark, a mole. I picked a thread that was even the same color of Pocket Face's flesh. And so we'll see how that holds up. But yeah, he's got a beauty mark right on his back. See, I keep saying his. I don't know why. I think it's programming. And then on the bottom, here I flipped Pocket Face over, and they've got pockets on their bum, and this is where I still need to sew up. This is where all the stuffing is. But as you can see, Pocket Face is kind of heavy right now. But that's Pocket Face. Okay, before I forget, here is the sketch I did real quick of Pocket Face before I knew they were going to be called Pocket Face. This was from early January when I was like, oh, maybe I'll just start this little plushie project by quickly sketching out what it might look like, and what came to me was sort of like a hedgehog-like character. So here's the inspo sketch. Bye.